First up, kudos to you. It's been very, very hectic and quite a tiresome 3-4 days with the visit and also in the precursor in the build up to that. But my first question to you, Ambassador Sandhu, is this visit is being hailed as historic, as a never before, with the respect to the agreement signed and also the treatment that's been accorded. Let me ask you, is this fact or is it propaganda?
So, Anand, I will just draw your attention to the reality. So, just look at the substantive deliverables, and it will leave no doubt in anyone's mind that, this was a historic and path-breaking visit. You have to just look at the joint statement. Let me, there are concrete outcomes there. I will just highlight a few of them. Let's start with the defense side. The jet engines, again, well known. Look at the procurement of drones. Drones have an important value. The defense industrial cooperation roadmap that has been laid out when the defense secretary was there, the US defense secretary. Come to one of the most important parts, technology, I said. Investments by Micron, Lam Research, Applied Materials, concrete, just read them. Semiconductor supply chains, innovation partnership, MOU. India is becoming a member of Mineral Security Partnership. Look at in RAN, R&D, 5G, 6G, outcomes in quantum AI, specific. Take a look at the space. First time so clearly, Artemis Accord. Yeah. Human flight cooperation, training of Indian astronauts. There'll be a joint mission to International Space Station in 2024. Energy, another very important thing. Green hydrogen, offshore, onshore wind, emerging technologies. USAID is going to support the Indian Railways for net zero. Then there is a collaboration between the US entity and the Indian National Green Hydrogen Mission. Education. You recall, we have spoken earlier, I have underlined to you the importance of education. Yeah. There's a joint task force set up between Association of American Universities, leading Indian education institutions, including the IITs. There is an establishment of Indo-US Global Challenge Institutes for deeper research and collaboration. 100 additional US undergraduate students will study or intern in India. So it's both-way process. Health, another very important thing. The drug policy framework, combating illicit drugs, pharma supply chains. Importantly, a cancer dialogue. This will be actually hosted and at the initiative of the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. Trade and commerce. 6 outstanding WTO disputes resolved. Upskilling of 250,000 employees, STEM learning in the US. For the first time, Small Business Administration and MSME collaboration. We always hear of the big guns. This is first time small and medium, which includes startups, are being linked up. Then look at people to people. The first pilot project, when we talk of renewal of work visas in US, that is going to be undertaken for Indians. This will enable them to do it within United States. Then, if this is success, then it will be extended to other countries. Indian consulate in Seattle. This will become functional this year. Look at the huge demand. There will be 2 more consulates set up in the US. And in India, the US will be opening 2 new consulates in Bengaluru and Ahmedabad. Look, I can go on and on. I think this speaks for itself.
But experts also point, Ambassador, to a significant shift in the Indo-US equations in the last few years. What is charging this magnetism?
So it's true. There is enhanced trust and confidence in each other. And I have been in this business for quite some time, more than 2 decades ago. I can tell you 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was almost unimaginable. So, what's important? First and foremost, most of these outcomes are people and development oriented. Each one of them touch the people. There is much more synergies and complementarities today. The people on both sides, these affordable solutions, the use of India's youth, talent, ability to make affordable solutions, what I said, and the US tech on the other hand. So both the countries are seeing the benefits of collaboration. And we have heard our Prime Minister often say that there is a much more desire to do global good. And this partnership is not only in benefit of United States and India, but also world at large. So here we can see that people-to-people links, they are the bedrock of the relationship. And we are also seeing much more maturity amongst the two partners. This relationship, if I may be allowed to say, it's actually coming of age.
You talked about the trust factor. What's the cause? What's behind this increase in trust?
I would say, Anand, multiple factors. But let me point out leadership is important. Why? Let's look at President Biden. 20 years ago, as the chairman of Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he said United States and India, if United States and India grew to be the closest friends and partners in the world would be a safer place. And today, as president, he said, I believe that even more today, now that I am the president. Prime Minister Modi, look at 2014, look at 2016. I don't know how many of you know that even before he was a chief minister, he actually traveled around the United States. He knows US very well. And in 2016, in the US Congress, he said, I see United States as an indispensable partner. He also spoke that this partnership has overcome the hesitations of history. And in his remarks this time, you saw in the US Congress, he said, the momentous future of the partnership is today. And there was standing ovation. Then, second, there is much more predictability and stability on both sides. There are consultations, coordination, collaboration, which has increased much more. And, the challenges and opportunities which are facing the world in this century that do require United States and India to work together. And I just want to quote Prime Minister Modi here. He said, this is not a partnership of convenience, but of conviction, compassion, and shared commitment for a better world.
Both presidents, both the heads of state, Prime Minister Modi and President Biden, were quite effusive in their praise for each other and the contribution. They talked up India-US relationship, AI, big reference point. But America, is it ready to accept a loosely aligned relationship? I'm not saying non-aligned, but loosely aligned relationship, because traditionally America has had this friend or foe kind of attitude.
So, in this again, Anand, there are traditional mindsets. There's always the spin which will come. But I will point out, please look at the word that has been used, partnership. And it's not just terminologies and semantics which go wide. The word is partnership. And what we are doing today jointly, as I pointed out to you, I have already given you a glimpse of the outcomes. I am quoting National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. He said this really is a relationship built on foundation of goodwill. And people on both the countries have a fundamentally optimistic view about the role of the other country as a partner. Remember, there are 200,000 Indian students here. There are 4 million Indian Americans here. Most of you have relatives here. Please ask them, are they positive on United States? And you will have. Why do most of our children come and study here? There is positivity. So there is much more shared priorities, creating things together. And therefore, this relationship is futuristic. It is bound to develop. It is indeed a natural partnership.
There is a long list of what has been achieved and what has been agreed upon and what's going to happen. But personally, for you, what was the highlight of the visit?
Look, Anand, I can say many things. Even the state visit itself, it was rarest of the rare, third in independent history, 75 years. Look at the historic joint session to the Congress, the excitement of the members. You saw how they took Prime Minister's autographs, how they clapped. And this is when everybody was predicting, doomsday. I kept saying before, there is a lot of interest in people to hear about the India story, to hear about the Prime Minister's vision. And that was there. And look at the enthusiastic Indian community presence in the arrival ceremony, despite light showers in the White House. 8,000 Indian Americans for the first time. And all of you heard about that. You heard what they were saying. So I, again, don't have to. But there were also a lot of other solid, substantive aspects. Look at the skilling event, where the First Lady came herself. And there was people's touch. The two Indians who participated, one of them, the boy, he's actually using what is technology to help in coastal areas in fish farming and cultivation. And the girl, she is using technology to assist visually empowered, meaning impaired, but even blind in India. So there is the people's touch. You heard about, you saw the Kennedy Center inspirational speech. You heard Secretary of State talking about it. And what about the tech handshake in White House on 23rd? You had the top of the line tech CEOs. That's a different matter. Some of them happen to be Indian Americans too. And the content of that. And you also had included in that the startups. And some of those startups have already infiltrated in the supply chains in United States. So all in all these aspects are also helping the development of India. They are also providing India market. They are also providing production capacities in India. And finally, providing employment. So both the ceremonial splendor and the wide array of substantial outcomes across sectors, I would say they competed with each other, in my mind, to bring it out to you.
For me, the highlight was Jai Hai, Jai Hai, Jai Hai in the White House lounge. Sitting in the studio, it gave me goosebumps, Ambassador Sandhu. That's what it did. You
Also
talked
in the
about
US Congress. I hope you didn't miss that.
No. I saw the US Congress. That was delightful. That was fantastic. But White House launch ke andar Jai Hai was happening. So it was just fantastic. But the other thing is, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said something very interesting when he talked about the jet engine deal. And this was when he was speaking to the people. And he said it's going to be a big push for our Atmanirbharta pitch. The Micron, foundry, if I may say that, and the jet engine manufacturing. Why are they so important? Why is it so critical? We had Ashwini Vaishnav also earlier in the day say that in 40 years they've been trying and it had not happened and it's fructified now, the Micron deal. Gee.
So, look, as I pointed out to you, that this is a win-win for both sides. And I also pointed out to you the focus on development and basically people-oriented, people-touching aspects of this. So this evolution of partnership is there clearly visible, of course, in tech and defense. And if I may say here, earlier it was simply a buyer-seller relationship, a market-oriented. But today we are talking of co-production, co-manufacturing, co-development. And that makes India a part of this, what is global supply chain. So in defense, we have the G jet engine deal, much spoken about, so I'm not going. But there is also, keep in mind, repair of US ships to have already happened in India. Then the MRO facilities, each of this facility, when it is set up, Anand, also leads to an ecosystem, also leads to the development of skills. And India is indeed becoming what is a reliable partner in the supply chains. And tech, and particularly critical tech, the high-tech, as we say, that is a big part of this. So Indian manufacturing thinks in the tech supply chain, and technology and know-how we currently lack is going to come to India. And here, again, I'm repeating, US is a tech powerhouse. That's why amongst the 200,000 Indian students here, 2/3 of them are in STEM areas. And India is an emerging tech powerhouse. So this partnership is natural. And obviously, it will help and strengthen our own domestic capability.
Prime Minister Modi has his ability to strike equations with leaders across the spectrum, across the world. But he was very effusive in his praise for President Biden. And he also admitted that we have had frank, open conversations over a range of issues. Can you tell us a little more? How was their personal equation? What all did they talk about?
So the personal chemistry and rapport has been visible. You saw Hiroshima even before that. And here I would like to draw your attention. In 2014, Vice President Biden hosted a lunch for Prime Minister Modi. 2016, he presided over the first address of Prime Minister to joint session. But look at the last 2 years, and this has been developing and deepening. I already pointed out to you their earlier statements about United States and India. But let me come to this current, the warmth, respect, and friendship. Look at all 3 days Prime Minister Modi was here. On all 3 days, he was received in the White House by the president, and they had important conversations, substantive discussions. Just look at the history. I don't think this has happened. And obviously, things were very visible too. The private dinner, the choice of the gifts, the camera, photography, book of poems. I don't have to really go into. Look at the attention paid in the state dinner, the presence of millets, the color combination, and the cream of cream, not to miss the fashion designers who were there. Actually, that has attracted attention in many of editorials here, that in Prime Minister Modi's dinner, Biden White House reached to fashion designers. This strong equation has been an asset to actually getting the substantial part out, the strengthening of ties further.
But beyond the polity, America Inc., you've been meeting a lot of them. For a while, you've been engaging with them. So compared to a few years ago when PM went with the Make India pitch, and then, over the course of the last 9 years, if I may say, increasingly, do you believe America Inc. is more convinced of the India story now than they were before?
Look, again, Anand, let the facts speak. Apple is making iPhones in India. Micron is investing in semiconductor testing and assembly unit. No, it's going to be a 2.7 billion total investment, which will create up to 20,000 job opportunities. Lam Research is going to train 60,000 Indian engineers. Applied Materials, and these are big companies. They are building semiconductor center for commercialization and innovation, which again will lead to a lot of skilling of our young. Look at First Solar. They are going to be investing in Tamil Nadu. Google, $10 billion. India Digitization Fund. Boeing, General Atomics. They are sending MRO facilities. Boeing is going to invest 100 million to train pilots in India, which will support India's 31,000 new pilots requirement. Again, I can give you examples of VSK, JSW, some of the Indian companies, which are also investing in United States and creating jobs here, improving the STEM. So through these, I don't have to say anything more. You can see that it is a much, much more solid futuristic relationship.
But Master Sandhu, what happens next, sir? How long, or is there going to be too much of a lag between ink and implementation?
I will quote Prime Minister Modi, and he very clearly articulated the time is now. And that's why the stage has been set, the window of opportunity has opened. And here, the relevant players on both sides certainly need to seize the moment and make things happen. Look how ISET has progressed. It was launched in January, and we already have concrete stuff put in the joint statement. So it's not business as usual. And most important, Anand, the ISET has brought for the first time industry, academia, and government together. So when the industry is involved, when it is engaged, So it's not going to be what you are pointing to, maybe bureaucrats like me sit back. Well, industry and academia is part of it. And POTUS and PM are again meeting for G20 summit. I'm sure the review of progress will happen. So I am indeed optimistic that we are going to see transformational changes that will take place in coming weeks. And even before the visit, I said that this is going to be a transformational visit, both substance and ceremony. And you take a look. It happened. It happened even more than what I had said. So that's why I do feel confident.
Well, I am very fully cognizant of the fact that democracies, be it India or America, are shouldered by bureaucracy. So it cannot be that if the bureaucracy stops to function, then nations will not progress. So you have to take credit where it is due, Ambassador Sandhu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. One parting question, if you may permit me. Are you confident that this engagement, this AI engagement, is going to be bipartisan, especially from the America point of view?
Yes. And again, I will point out to the address in US Congress when Prime Minister spoke about ISET, AI, Internet of Things, quantum. Both the sides, just look at YouTube, both the sides got up and they were clapping. So I am confident. Look, this is a win-win proposition for both sides. And again, I will mention here that technology partnership comes when you have trust and confidence at the bottom. And it has not just commercial side, it has a strategic side. And you have seen what NSA Sullivan said in Delhi. And you have seen what both Prime Minister and President Biden repeatedly look at any of their statements across the 3 days they interacted, and you will see pointing towards that. So I am indeed confident based on my experience.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Taranjit Singh Sandhu. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Look forward to meeting you very soon, hopefully in India.
Thank you, Anand. Look
Thank
forward.
you, sir. Namaste, sir. Jai Hind.